Hello and welcome to this new moon in Scorpio video. I'm going to be talking about what this new moon entails. It is one of the most potent lunations this year, and there is so much potential to transform something with this energy. And at the same time, there is so much potential to unravel as a result of its energy. So let's talk about that and let's talk about the current astrology and put it all together because this month in 2025 stands as one of the most pivotal moments this year. Cosmically, this is a really, really potent moment to lay something to rest, to let something go, to alchemize and transmute something into something else. There's so much potential here as long as we're willing to let go of something in order to allow for the birth of something else. Cycles are coming to an end. So this is our moment with this new moon to plant seeds towards our greater and highest good, and also towards asking this lunar energy to help us transmute what no longer serves us and also what is harming us. We want to acknowledge it first. We want to integrate that shadow. We want to really understand the depths of it before we let it go, and see the message that it holds for us. I mean, that's the entire wisdom, the guiding wisdom of the new moon in Scorpio. It is intense. It is powerful beyond measure. So let's get into it. The new moon itself is making multiple aspects to some key planets. And on the same day, very, very close to the exacting of the new moon, we have a Mercury Cassimi. And a Cassimi is when the sun and Mercury come together. And this is when Mercury is purified by the light of the sun. And even though it's retrograde, this moment brings us clarity, incredible clarity. It cuts right through the fog that we're currently in, held in, suspended in with this Mercury retrograde. And it's inviting you to consider what truth is ready to emerge from the shadows. This is the question really at the heart of this new moon in Scorpio, as it sits also beside this Mercury retrograde. Really deepening our thoughts, deepening our emotions. There's revelations here. There is so much trying to surface. If you're clairaudient, if you receive spiritual downloads and messages, this is an incredible moon for this. So pay attention to what's coming your way. Anything that feels like a sign or a coincidence at this time is really a message trying to break through something important to you. So I encourage journaling or stillness, dream work, just anything to get you to listen, to create a pause and see what kind of comes through. And I'm recording this 1 week before the new moon for you. And so essentially, we're in the midst of a Mercury retrograde that has begun in Sagittarius, and it will be in Scorpio by the time the new moon exacts. So we're being asked to consider where we're limiting ourselves in our expansion in our life, or sense of expansion, whatever that means to you. Is this expansion in your ideas and your mindset, in the potential to have more in your life, whatever that is. And so then we're going into the depths of Scorpio with this and looking at the shadows that are holding us back from experiencing this sense of expansion. So what is restricting us is really also at the heart of this new moon in Scorpio in terms of the seeds you want to plant for the upcoming lunar cycle, this very, very powerful one. There's also trines happening. And for those that don't know, trines are easeful aspects or harmonious aspects between planets. So when the sun and moon trine Jupiter retrograde, Saturn retrograde, and Neptune retrograde on this very day, we're talking about spiritual integration. We're talking about emotional excavation. We're looking at the sacred blend of structure and surrender. What can we create? What can we actualize? And what can we not? And how can we find a balance here with the vision we have for ourselves, for what we want to actualize in our life, and where must we surrender to what we cannot do and lean into what we can. There is an absolute truth-telling energy to Scorpio, and when the moon is here, we can't hide from ourselves. We can't hide from the truth of what we know about ourselves, about everything. It's like we're bare naked under the light of this moon, under the energy of this moon. We are bare naked, we're vulnerable, and we want to be bare naked and vulnerable because that is where the guiding wisdom is for us. So in addition to these trines between these retrograde planets and the new moon, we also have an opposition to Uranus, which is currently retrograde and recently entered back in Taurus for one final hurrah until the end of April of 2026. So this is the last time the sun in Scorpio will oppose Uranus in Taurus. This will be it. And so this is the wild card of this new moon. This is, the shakeup that's happening within ourselves. It may get uncomfortable and we want to lean into the discomfort with this moon. That's where the power is. The more we fight it, the more we resist it, the more we're missing the magic of what this moon has to offer. So expect some sort of breakthrough moment with this new moon. Not right away. It reverberates. It can reverberate for the next 2 weeks. This is all part of a larger lunar cycle that is 4 weeks long. And we're talking about the first 2 weeks of it. And the first 2 weeks of any lunar cycle is when we have the most energy and drive. We get the green light from the universe to go ahead with what we've planted, the seed we've planted, the intention that we have. So we're thinking about resource, power, security, trust, stability. What is being shaken up right now with those themes in our life? I wrote more about this and I have a free guide for you on my Patreon for members that, talks about this Uranus and Taurus transit, this last 5 months of it. And the themes here are being amplified with this new moon. So you may want to look at that and see what's being activated with Uranus being in Taurus for you based on your rising sign. And think about this new moon as the sort of impetus, the drive to get the momentum to face whatever it is that Uranus is bringing your way for the next few months as closure, as the ending of a cycle. We are starting a brand new energy in the next year, in the next upcoming year. And this is that moment right now where we want to be clear on what no longer resonates, clear on what we need to work on, clear on what we need to let go of, clear on what we need to transform, transmute, or alchemize, whatever have you. And this is that moon. So the Uranus opposition here for me serves as this push for us to really go deep within. It's really a sacred turning point, this new moon. And as much as truths will be revealed, as much as emotions will be purged, as much as freedom is going to be reclaimed, so to speak, you still need to go within to get there. That is where the magic of this moon lies, as I said, going deep, not being afraid to sift through those shadows. So on November 21st, the sun opposes Uranus retrograde. And as I mentioned with the new moon, this is the last time we're experiencing an exact opposition between the sun and Uranus. And this is right before the sun enters Sagittarius. So in that 29th anaretic degree, this is like the light breaking open. This is our last sun-Uranus opposition in our lifetime. And this is about, a final release from stagnation. This is an awakening of purpose. As the sun moves into Sagittarius, this is hope after healing, the fire after the storm. This is the energy of the next 2 weeks. Phoenix rising from the ashes as we experience this new moon's energy, going deep and coming out anew. Should we choose this for ourselves? And Mercury's retrograde at the moment, and along with the other retrogrades of this moment, are really holding us to what it is we need to pay attention to. And this is less about action in terms of outward results in the next 2 weeks, and it's more about action as in the inner work that will lead to results down the line. We are suspended a little bit in the moment. We're in self-reflective energies of these retrogrades and especially Mercury. So we're thinking about something and thinking it over. I mean, we don't want to be ruminating. We don't want to be going down rabbit holes, especially being mindful of rash action, especially being mindful of not unraveling. Mercury retrograde will conjoin Venus in the sign of Scorpio on the 24th. This is a really incredible time to sit with reflecting on love and your values in general, your relationship to money. This is where heart meets the deep waters, the sacred waters of Scorpio. This is conversations of truth, of closure, of reconnection, in all things relational. So again, there is an element of truth telling this month. The deeper you go, the more honest you are, the more vulnerable you are, the more these next 2 weeks will serve you in a way that supports your life's journey. And a couple of days later, after that conjunction, Venus trines Jupiter and Saturn, which are both retrograde. This is really beautiful build up from the 24th, where the depth of the journey will bring the blessings, beginning with this new moon and journeying into your heart, journeying into your shadows, and balancing the two, your heart, your shadows, integrating those together with self-compassion, with self-love, with care, with patience, with resilience. Then we get to this moment in the month on the 26th where Venus trines Jupiter and Saturn. And honestly, this is just a beautiful, blessed day to see the outcomes of one's inner work. And then, of course, on the 27th and 29th, Saturn and Mercury go direct respectively. And we are coming out, slowly coming out of the fog of not just the Mercury retrograde, but we're looking at what Saturn had to sit with, the discomfort of Saturn retrograde in Pisces, reminding us of boundaries, reminding us of respecting the restrictions in our life, that not all restrictions are bad. But there was a lot here with the journey that we had with Saturn retrograde for a few months, and it's coming to an end. And, what once felt uncertain is going to now take form. And this is sort of the last few months before, actually, a couple months before Saturn goes back into Aries and begins that 2-year journey in that new sign. So I'll have more on that soon. But just know that on the 29th as well, during this lunar cycle, Mercury will go direct. And on that same day, Venus also opposes Uranus in that anaretic final degree. That's again the last time that Venus in Scorpio will oppose Uranus, and we won't see that opposition again. And so this is really this is when truth lands. This is liberation and love. This is, self-worth amplified. This is a last big shake before that sense of inner freedom from loving oneself and honoring oneself so much, shedding those old stories, the old patterns that we had about how we view ourselves. Something is shifting here, and we must trust the alignment. And again, it all begins with this new moon in Scorpio, bringing us into this end of the month moment where, we have this final moment with Venus on the 29th, and just before it enters Sagittarius, where we are receiving like just heart expansion, love amplified. We are like moving with curiosity, with hope, moving forward in our relational connection to the things in our life, to the people in our life, to our values, to our ideas. We're coming out of the depths of Scorpio. We have alchemized, we have hopefully gone deep to alchemize, and we've gone deep to transmute some of those difficult shadows and bringing them into the fold without ignoring them, without suppressing them, and with honoring them and saying, this is part of my story. I'm not ashamed of my story. I'm not afraid of my story. My story also has no hold over me. And moving into this expansive place where Sagittarius lives in our chart and receiving the hope and optimism and the blessings of this moment. So this is kind of where the massive energies of this 2 weeks of the lunar cycle kind of sit. There's, of course, other aspects happening. For details, you can always join my Cosmic Sanctuary membership, where I go into more depth about the astrology for my members. And as well, for those in the full moon circle, I will have your unique readings, which are my guided downloads, messages that are specific to your rising sign. So if this speaks to you, feel free to join my Cosmic Sanctuary membership. I want to just remind you that transformation is cyclical. It's not a single moment, you know. We are constantly evolving and changing, and this is the truth of Scorpio, what it teaches us. And so this is one such moment where we can go deep and change some things, change some patterns, change the energy of things. You know, in these 2 weeks, we are journeying from release to renewal. And we're going to meet this moment with the full moon in Gemini, which I will have the next video in a couple of weeks for you. I invite you to repeat this affirmation to yourself, should you feel called to do so. I trust the cycles of death and rebirth within me. I rise wiser, freer, and more aligned with my truth. If you'd like to explore these energies more deeply through guided reflections, rituals, and intuitive readings, I invite you to join my Cosmic Sanctuary membership. It's where we walk these lunar paths together. Thank you for being here. I know these times are activating, they're meant to be, and you're not alone in how you feel. We're all going through massive change right now, and it can be very excruciating. So I'm just extending care, and I wish you many blessings and healing and everything good. And I'll see you soon under the next light.